This is the EARTHSPIKE build for Season 10. Today we will take a look at very solid setup that can handle all content at the highest difficulty with no problem. You will be able to enjoy any activity from Hellties to pushing Pit 110 plus. In this video we will through how it works, the gear, skill tree, Paragon, chaos perks and more. Ready to take your builds to the next level? Let's go with the video. Hi everyone, Zaior here bringing you another build to the channel, one that I really love. It's very well put together, we got great damage and it's also quite tanky. I'm sure you are gonna love it. I'm talking about the EARTHSPIKE build, but this time we will see a different version than what we used last season, just to mix things up and enjoy the game in a fresh way. Let's start by talking about what's its fundamental in this build. This build focuses on overpowered damage. So we mainly benefit from the Brown over Brains perk, the Ursine Strange passive, the Dominate Glyph and the Shine Rune. With those, we already have the foundation to start building the rest. We'll start with a key item, Gatlin's Birthright. This helmet automatically grants 2 passives. It activates them on its own when we gain Anima of the Forest, which triggers after hitting a certain number of times with critical strikes, and we crit all the time thanks to Purge the Infected. The passive it activates are Perfect Storm and Earthen Might. Sadly, we don't benefit from Perfect Storm in this build, but we do from Earthen Might, which give us juicy 70% more critical strike damage to our Earth skills, in this case, EARTHSPIKE. Next up, the Mjolnir Ring. It gives us Infinite Spirit when Cataclysm is active, which is our ultimate skill for this build. That way, we don't have to worry about resources and it will be easier to stack over bandits. The last key item for this build is Shard of Baratiel. This item makes our basic skill cost resources, but in exchange increases their damage by 150%, which is spectacular for raising the build DPS. It's the best choice for a main weapon. Now that we know the key items, let's move on to the game block. More than the loop itself, I want to explain how each skill works in this setup. We start with EARTHSPIKE, our basic skill, the source of all our damage, so we need to cast it constantly. Next, Cataclysm, which boosts our damage even more thanks to Mjolnir Ring and also give us Infinite Spirit. Then Claw, this one has a single purpose, to activate Bloodhound, thanks to the Wild Transformation perk, which most of you already know and the bonuses it grants. Maul works the same way. It activates Debilitating Roar via Wild Transformation, but it also lets us trigger the Ursine Strange passive, giving us more life, damage and overpowered damage. It lasts 8 seconds after leaving Weaver form, so keep track of that window to recast Maul again. Next, Earthen Bulwark, which gives us barrier and more resistance in battle. One last reminder, when we shift forms, certain buffs activated. As I mentioned with Maul and Claw, now comes the human form buff, Cyclone Armor. Cyclone Armor grants 20% attack speed and also knocks enemies back, giving you more space to attack and survivability. It activates when switching back to human form. For example, you use Claw, then EARTHSPIKE. You will trigger the human form buff because you return to that form after using Claw. The same happens with Maul and Earthen Bulwark, and vice versa with all the skills on your bar. Let's go over the gear in detail. Mine is quite good, not perfect but definitely endgame, especially for pushing high content. Let's break it down piece by piece. We start again with Gatlin's Birthright. No need to over-explain this, we already covered it at the start. Just make sure to raise the humanity ranks. It will give you more damage and damage reduction. Solid. Next, Shroud of False Death. If you don't have it, this chest, replace it with any other defensive aspect. Then we have the Banished Lord Talisman. You might think it's just for core skills, and in part that's true. But the unique passive after the period applies to any skill, so we will gain 72% more damage. Also boost attack speed affix here. For pants we use Pain Gorgers. Activating their unique effect is easy, we just need to damage enemies with Cataclysm, so there's no weird mechanic to trigger it. And our basic skill gains that extra percentage of damage against marked enemies. Raise ranks to basic skills. Now a very important item, the Fist of Fate. We need one with maximum lucky hit, and if it has GA, even better. It will trigger all extra benefits like Energize, Ahu, etc. Plus it randomly boosts a hit by 300% damage. Insane. Next, Shard of Baratiel, as explained earlier, raise ranks to basic skill here too. For the totem, this slot is important. It's the only one where we can have a chance for EARTHSPIKE to cast twice, so max that out. An important affix here is maximum resources, since with the adaptability aspect we deal more damage based on our resources, giving a huge damage bonus. The key aspect here is Seismic Shift, which increases EARTHSPIKE damage and also makes it cast in a line twice. Now the amulet, the most hated and loved item. If you find a good one, your damage skyrockets. The most important passive is Envenom. Through Crushing Earth or Defense are also good. We will use adaptability here, an extremely powerful aspect for this build since it scales with our resources, increasing damage by 0.9% per resources point. So more resources equal more damage. Mjolnir Ring, mandatory to use Cataclysms. Finally, an Ancestral Ring with these affixes will be more than enough. Moonrise Aspect is the best option to boost attack speed and damage. You can check everything in the planner. I will leave in the comments and description to follow along in detail. The skill tree has a few tricks since we use Wild Transformation. Let's go through the key skills. Start with EARTHSPIKE, 5 points to maximize DPS. Use Wild EARTHSPIKE, which casts another spike when hitting immobilized or stunned enemies, and we stun thanks to Paingorger's item. Heart of the Wild increases our resources, which is important for damage through adaptability. Earthen Bulwark for more resistances. Then assign points to defensive skills, since they will constantly auto-cast through Wild Transformation, as I explained earlier. So we take Innate Cyclone Armor, Innate Bloodhowl, and Innate Debilitating Roar. We will gain both Wild Transformation bonuses and these extra effects, brutal. Humanity passive is very important since when attacking we will be in human form, increasing both damage and damage reduction. Envenom is our universal druid damage multiplier, by far the best passive. Put 5 points into Cataclysm so it lasts longer and has a shorter cooldown. Lastly, Ursine Trench, we get all its benefits even in human form, since casting Maul triggers it, and after leaving werewolf form it lasts 8 seconds. So we benefit from both Ursine Trench and Earthen Might, which is insane. Let's talk Paragon. We start with the Tectonic Leaf, which finally has a use for Druid. It gives some great buffs and we can maximize it since we crit all the time with this build. So the increased critical strike damage synergizes perfectly. It also gives 50% more damage to crowd-controlled enemies and boosts Earth skill damage. Next, Handed Malice, more damage to poisoned enemies, both mobs and bosses. We will use the Spirit Glyph here to keep stacking critical strike damage and hit higher orange numbers. Third, Sinister Tendrils. This now gives 35% more damage to poison enemies, and it's also crucial since it applies the poison effect we need to trigger all our poison bonuses in the build. So the more lucky hit, the better. Next, Earthen Devastation. No surprise here, it's mandatory since our skill is Earth type. This now gives 10% base critical damage, plus 20% per 100% of your damage versus crowd-controlled enemies, up to 60%. That means if you got 100% more damage to CC enemies, your Earth skill crits hit 30% harder. Huge. The glyph here will be Earth and Sky. Last board, Ancestral Guidance, gives 40% more damage when spending resources, and we will use the Dominate glyph, which massively boosts overpowered damage. Start with Gift of the Stag. More resource means more damage and better regen. The Avian Rod for 40% more critical strike damage, which is more DPS. Then Energize to restore resources and full overabundance, plus Bolster, since we will be using defensive skills constantly thanks to Wild Transformation, keeping us fortified all the time. Lastly, Calm Before the Storm to reset Cataclysm and never run out of the ultimate. Since this build focuses on overpower, the best perk is Brawn over Brains, which boosts this damage by 125%, huge, so our DPS skyrockets. Next, Purged Infected, which guarantee crits, and those crits deal 60% more damage, massive. Then Overabundance, the universal multiplier this season, 800% more damage, huge. Lastly, Wild Transformation, since we'll be constantly shifting forms, we will always benefit from these bonuses. The most important ones for me are Bloodhowl and Cyclone Armor. Alright my druids, that's it for today's video. I will leave a pit run so you can see the build in action. Hope you like it and enjoy the gameplay. If you like the content, don't forget to like and subscribe. Any questions, drop them in the comments. See you in the sanctuary.